Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this council meeting of West Lincoln. Today is Monday, June 22nd, and this is meeting number 8. I'm going to ask you, please, if you're able to stand for O Canada tonight at Smithville Public School. Thank you. And if you've ever tried to sing while somebody's saying smile, it doesn't always come out just the way it should. However, we will, before we get started, I'd like to provide the following announcements. The public may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. And comments submitted will be considered as public information and read into the public record. And again, this meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded and will be available on the Township's website. We'll begin, as always, with the land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of Niagara Region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Councillor Bradrick, you have the opening petition, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens.
Thank you, Councillor. Members of Council, are there any changes in order of items on the agenda this evening? Okay, and seeing none, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest? And again, seeing none. Item 6 on our agenda is a request to address items on the agenda. This is a standing piece on our agenda under 6.7, public comment at council is possible if you follow the rules, of course, and there shall be no comments from the public permitted at council unless a specific appointment has been scheduled. And an item needs to be included in other business, communications, or appointments if you're going to speak to that matter. Are there any members of the public not here? I see that we don't have anyone this morning, or this afternoon who wants to speak to this piece. But is there anyone online, Kevin?
Not seeing any, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I didn't see anyone there either, but thank you. And there are no appointments this evening and no presentations. And right away, that takes us to Regional Councillor Witteveen. Thanks for being here, Albert.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, staff, and members of the public. So I just going to give a quick, I guess, an overview of some things that I've been involved in it here as a counselor in the township. We haven't been very busy at the region with our committee meetings. Things that I've been working on with our residents is some road safety. Had a couple of residents that have called and been concerned about speed on our rural roads, and have been trying to assist them in ways to report a concern and bring it to the attention of the Niagara Regional Police, which we know is a common occurrence, but anyways, it's ongoing. Met with regional staff last week on our list of capital projects that we have in the queue moving forward, and making sure that advocate for those projects and find out where the timelines are. So we're moving along nicely on that. Attended the West Lincoln public open house for the truck route. The attendance was very well. It was very well attended. The people were happy with that attendance. I think there were between 50 and 60 members of our community that came out and expressed their concerns and I guess where they felt this bypass would best fit in our community. And then this morning I had a waste management steering committee meeting. So they're starting to work on the curbside collection system for 2030. Believe it or not, because it will take probably 18 months to come up with meet with municipalities and come up with the level of services, and then by the time they award a contract and then contractors purchase vehicles, it'll be 2030, believe it or not. So they're looking at a couple things as maybe ways to save money. They're seeing other communities are seeing a 40 to 50% increase in curbside collection in general because of trucks, labor, general inflation. And so they're looking at ways do we get 2 contractors, or is there economy scale to 1? Do we look at how we collect? Can we collect, more efficient? So all these things are being discussed. And also today they talked about, which I think is always relevant to West Lincoln, and is illegal dumping. So there was actually an interesting a report from York University that stated, access and cost to getting rid of items and garbage. Basically came back to, if it costs too much and it's not easy to get rid of, then people tend to dump their refuge illegally. And I think the challenge is obviously in cities as much as in the country. Big things are, like your mattresses. But so they're going to look at things like, now they'll pick up 4 items at no cost for you, whether they continue that service, and just looking at the strategy in general, how moving forward that they can try to curb this. And a lot of it, I guess, is kind of education. And so then the question is, do we up the fines to make it more of a deterrent? And so they the fines are like 150 max to 500. Is that really a deterrent for those that are blatantly doing it? So they're looking at those fees, and of course you need the province to authorize those extra fees. So anyways, just some things that our Madam Mayor will be, the new mayor or the mayor will be working on in 2027 moving forward on those contracts. So anyways, that's my update. So anybody have any questions, I'm here to answer any.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Regional Council, Ravine. So Councillor Maychuk and I had actually been having a conversation the last few days, just discussing some of the concerns we've heard regarding the construction on West Street. And so I guess one of the things we were curious about, I know Councillor Maychuk might jump in shortly after, is because of the amount of dirt, and I know we have a little bit more rain, so it's kind of flying around a little bit more like mud and sticking to houses. And so we're wondering if maybe the region, if there's room in their budget that they allocated for the project there, is there a possibility that like a mobile truck wash could go by and help kind of wash down some of those houses or those nearby cars that are getting impacted the most by some of the flying debris and dirt and mud? Because it's certainly become a nuisance for those residents, and they've reached out to us for the last few weeks anyways, but it seems to be picking up a little bit more momentum, and so we're just wondering if there's something more that can be done at the regional level to kind of address that, or at least kind of find some common ground to make them happy, because they're not happy right now. And I realize construction is never a fun time for anybody, but then it's a little bit of extra insult to injury there, whatever that phrase is, in terms of having to be, every time you park your car in the driveway, it's caked in mud, and then you gotta drive out and get it washed and come back again, and are they gonna have to go with that for another 6 months? You know what I mean? And that seems a little unfair. So I'm just wondering if there's something more that could be considered, or it has been maybe already and we just don't realize it. I'd love to know what I could go back to them. I know Greg and I both would love to be able to relay that.
So through Madam Mayor to Councillor Riley, I've also been reached out to on that issue, and talking to the project manager. There's no action that we need to take till the project's done. It's like it's mid-construction. It's it's not a practice. So we'll work on that. I will say we'll work on it. My car is getting dirty, and I'm going. Have a garage. Then they wanted vouchers, and they wanted us to pay for the water for their car, and so I think progress has its challenges, and once I've spoken to residents, they've understood that it's an inconvenience, but at the end, it's going to be much of an improvement for them. But it doesn't mean no, but right now in the middle of a project, it would seem like if my house got dirty, then they'll be back next week, and they'll be back next week, and they'll be back next week, and I don't think that that's probably what we want to do. We want to look at near the end of the project and how we may deal with that impact at this present time.
Okay.
So it's not through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Riley. I understand this is not a common practice. It's just a 6-month inconvenience, and you have to be realistic. I could make promises about giving you vouchers for car washes, but that's not realistic. And I talked to our director and said that's just part of progress, and they're doing their best. They are on notice for keeping the dust down and putting calcium down and trying to work in their restricted area with the amount of volume of traffic that goes through there. I went through there a couple times today, and I think they're trying their best to try to minimize the dust. But anyways, that's my answer.
Mayor, just threw you back to the councillor. Again, it was just more of an idea. I don't think you necessarily have to worry about the nitty-gritty of vouchers. Just kind of, when we have, stuff that gets sprayed down through the roads through the early spring and stuff like that. I was just looking to see if there was an opportunity for like a mobile wash to go by and just kind of, even if you communicated, hey, it'll only be done these 2 dates, 3 dates, I think they're pretty reasonable. They're just looking for some kind of, I guess, not compensation, but some kind of service that could help remove that or reduce the amount of impact. I realize we're not going to make everybody happy here, because I know that dust and dirt carries much further than those houses that are just off the main strip. But again, until you're living in it, you're dealing with it, and no one in the area is coming to me, necessarily and said, they're against the progress and the changes. It's the more the having to endure that little extra abuse that comes with it accidentally. And so, anyways, I just wanted to put that out there.
So just further to that, I will say that the issue of the dust is what directed our director to get in touch with the people who are involved at the region who let out that project.
Yeah.
And that's how the calcium chloride appeared. It was sort of following up on that. So that was a direct response to what the residents were complaining about at that point. Unfortunately, we keep getting rain, and that just makes it messy. But we can't control that either at this point in time. And And I would have to agree. I mean, it is a regional project, even though it's serving us. It was let in conjunction with the road. I think by the time, and I don't want to use the dust settles, but by the time it does, then the people are going to see the benefit eventually of that road being changed, about having improved sidewalks. I mean, we have heard for several years about the dips and the swirls and how that sidewalk gets flooded over and over and over again, and people are having to go out onto the road and around that. I think the overall, hopefully, improvements to the area might be helpful. And I think we have to be reminding people that we just haven't seen that kind of work being done in our community. It's happening everywhere else. And if you think about the number of projects going on, throughout the region, if that same thing were true and we were having to, keep following up that way with car washes or house washes or whatever, all of those costs would be much, much higher. So I think the fact that they're aware, and when I say they, I mean, the construction firm that are doing the work are well aware of the inconvenience and are sort of trying to do what they can. Certainly we have all, including staff, have had complaints the same way. So you and Greg are not the only ones that are hearing that kind of thing.
Sure.
We all are. But there have been some more serious issues than that the region has had to follow up to in terms with flooding because of those heavy rains that we've had and so on. So there are lots of big issues, and we do know that we have topography that lends itself. So I think they've run into some issues as well, partly because of our karst topography that they wouldn't even have anticipated. So I think it's on everybody's radar, and I'm glad that you brought it up because it's worthy of discussion, but we don't have any answers at this point in time.
So if I may follow up, not so much to the water portion of it, but to you, Madam Mayor, Tyler, yourself, or Councilor Whittleby, do we know where we're at with the timeline of this project? Are we on time? Are we expecting? Is there a possible end date that could be flirted out there a bit? So I think sometimes it might be easier to accept the inconvenience if we kind of know. I know nothing can be a hard date because shortages or backlogs or anything can come up. But are we thinking like by fall of 2026 this is going to be taken care of? Are we thinking beyond that? I think a timeline might help residents ease their minds.
So I don't know of a timeline. Councillor Whittleby might, because he's the chair of Public Works. But I will say that this is the hardest part, the biggest part right now. When they finally have all of this work done, then it won't be a great deal of time for them to be able to do the road, put sidewalks in, that kind of stuff like that. They'll see definite progress there. And as we see, it's moving closer and closer to the end at South Grimsby 5. So we've moved quite a ways, all the way down Wade and then, up the main road. So hopefully sooner rather than later. But we also can't count on the weather. So it's been very difficult, for
delay,
sure.
but if you have.
So, through you, Madam Mayor, my response would be the best person to ask is our Director of Public Works, because it is a combined project with the region, and I would think Director DePaula would have probably communicating them on a more regular basis. I didn't ask, so I don't know the completion date, whether they're on schedule, like how close they are on schedule, they're ahead of schedule. So I think, honestly, I wish I had the answer, but I think our director would have a better handle on that.
Okay, I can follow up with him later, and we can have a different conversation then. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Maychak.
You, Madam Chair. More for the public's awareness. What are the steps to try to mitigate the dust? What is actually done to try to reduce it? Just so if people ask what are they doing, I'm able to explain that question.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Maychak, it's usually calcium. It's the same product that we use in on our rural roads for dust control. It's and obviously they're driving on asphalt and the shoulder of the road, and on the other part there where we're intersecting, they're putting down calcium. But every time it rains, that calcium also washes away, and so that's where. But I believe they're trying to do their best. But it's calcium, Councillor Maychak.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Chichon? Oh, sorry. Mr. CEO, you want to? I'll come back, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just got hold of Director DePaula, and he's saying the West Street project is targeted by end of October.
Thank you.
So if I could add, Madam Mayor, was to Councillor Riley, because I know he's in Ward 3 and he's he has everything asphalted and paved and all that, but as in Ward 2 and 1 that have all the rural roads, lots of country people live in the dust storm before our township shows up and does dust control. So it's not in minimizing, but I just wanted you to understand this is the rural people deal with that at certain times of the year when before dust control there's dust everywhere.
So Councillor Whittovy,
so
to that I will just say on the councillor's behalf, South Grimsby Road 3, we hear about all the time.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Okay, Councillor Chichon.
Yeah, well, you're good.
That kind of leads into the question that I was going to ask. It's not just the Ward 3 councillors that are getting questions, but I think everyone is going through that area of town. And between the red lights that stay longer than any red light they've ever seen, and the fact that there's dust, but there's also mud on the road, which is asphalt. And a question that I was going to ask that might be better answered, at least by our CAO, is that because this is the question I was asked, as growth happens, and we are going to have roads that were normally paved, dug up to make connections or do whatever, are we in our contract going to have a road fouling component that says the contractor will wash the road? Because if they do that, the mud won't fling quite as far. So that will help us as we move along. This is a bare dirt situation for a while, which takes replacement of calcium all the time. But even taking that mud over onto the pavement is causing mud to happen and strew itself further down the road as they go along with this rain. So if there was something that we could see in contracts, at least that's what I've seen and I've heard in growth areas where they do wash the asphalt when there's been an abundance of mud flipped up onto the asphalt and then get flipped up by the tires onto houses and cars. That would be.
So I'm not sure, Mr. CEO.
Madam Mayor, through Councillor Chichak, that did happen on South Grimsby Road 5 while they were crossing over and doing that. So I think it's a good business practice for the contractor to, and I believe it's a road safety that the road is not greasy with soil, or so it's a responsibility of the contractor to do the right thing.
So my question is, do we have that in the contracts like this one? Because it is road safety, it is a lot of things. The question is, do we have it in this one? And as we move forward with town projects, will we have it in those, or can we make sure that it's there? That's all. And I had one other question through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. But Councillor Whittovy, you mentioned the fact that you talked to somebody about the capital budget, and you were talking about the projects that are within West Lincoln, and they were moving along. Are we to feel comfortable that the 10-year capital budget for the region is still got our projects in where they were, meaning last year it was 4 years, this year it'll be 3 years, 2 years, 1 year? Because the 10-year capital budget can see moves, but as we get closer, there are no more opportunities. The projects are struck, much like you're saying about other things, but they're struck, and we should be expecting them and can tell people we are. So is that the situation you're seeing?
So through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Chichak, I just gave a high level, but in the conversation with Director Tassone, the project in Wellandport, the reason why we're not in consultation of utilities is that we have the Aboriginal people looking at that project, and that's why
how did you know I was looking at Wellandport?
We're waiting for that, so there's a delay in that. And speaking with Director on 20 Road or Regional 69, there was concern that it was getting pushed down the road, and it's not going to be completed this year. It's in for 2027. And in conversation with Director Tassone, I said, well, there's projects that are not necessarily ready that you're moving forward on. So if there are a project within that dollar amount of $7.5 million that aren't ready for 2026, then what would be ready in 2027, that piece is in, it's what he would say the worst road in Niagara region. So I said, then if there's funds not being spent, then maybe we can do that road and tender it out by the end of the year. And then there was a couple projects out in Ward 1, York Road, there was a culvert, so they're on track. So it's, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Chichek, it's I guess the relationship I have with the director and making sure that our priorities are being heard and not being moved down the road. So I will continue to advocate for those projects to stay on track as residents expect those projects to be completed within a reasonable timeline.
So, Madam Mayor, if I might, the idea of moving Wellandport out or delaying it, and I understand the Indigenous people have a settlement or various things featured in Wellandport, but if their review of the plans, that's going to move them a year, another year. We've been through 3 terms of council that was supposed to be on the books.
So it will be the 4th term of council by the time these people see anything, and that was part of our argument at the region, Councillor. It's still on track for them to do, the relocation of services that need to be done, looking at that meeting in the fall, I think, of this year. But all along, we knew that if we got anything into the 26 budget where it was not existent, that it would be 26, 27. And the West Lincoln portion of that from our staff, we were led to be, to understand that we weren't ready until 27 anyway for our portion to be done. So we're just, actually the CAO and I did meet with Councillor Witteveen and make sure that on our behalf he was pushing those priorities, because
I don't doubt that he is.
One person through meetings. And the other thing that we run into is some of your questions about what's happening at the region. We don't have definitive answers at this point in time. It is our hope that everything that's in line right now continues to be that way, but there's a great deal of uncertainty, so.
I hear that's going around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, it was just so that I understood. Councillor Witteveen had said that the capital was going ahead. I just wanted to know.
It
what
means it
people-
hasn't stalled. It's
Yeah,
I'm
it's
back to my
moving.
snail pace moving ahead that I've used many times. But I think our CAO wants to.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And through you, I can confirm that in the contracts that we do let for roads, we have a sediment and debris control plan that we put in place not only for dust, but also from preventing sediment from getting into our storm drains, which is quite costly doing these kinds of projects.
I actually thought that I'd seen that. Thank you. Okay, so as far as the capital projects, thank you. I just wanted to make certain that we were not in too much of a stall, but that our monies in the regional budget were staying at a time when we would be ready with our portion to go forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to kind of add to the conversation. Every contract has an application for dust control. They can put a water truck on there, run the water truck up and down 3-4 times a day. So it's just a request that will have to come from the township to the region to say, keep a water truck up there, up and down. And calcium is usually used either at the end of the day or for the weekend, because obviously water trucks and companies don't run on the weekend. So ideally, to control the dust, I think that's probably the better option, is just have a water truck on there full time. It would mitigate some of the concerns of the dust for the residents. Calcium at the end of the night and calcium on the weekend. As Councillor Riley, a mobile wash is a great idea in a perfect world, but then you're liable for damaging someone's car or something. You always get that
windows.
that paint scrape wasn't there on my car, now it's because of the mobile, and it opens you to liability. So my whole thing is, if we can just, maybe if someone has a conversation with our director to talk to the region, say, keep a water truck on there full time. It's in the contract, go up and down 3-4 times a day, and it'll help release some of the dust, especially getting into the hotter months as we're heading into July and August. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Rayner, I saw your hand earlier. Did you wish to speak? No? Okay. That's fine then. Thank you. Okay. Wow. Thank you, Councillor Witteveen. Thank you very much. Okay, that takes us then to confirmation of minutes. And Councillor Rayner, you actually have the council minutes from May 19th, please.
Yes, move on myself that the minutes relating to Moved by myself that the minutes relating to the May 19th, 2026 council meeting be accepted.
Thank you, and someone to second those, please. Councillor Riley? Are there any questions or comments about those minutes? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk? There we go. It is slow the first time, isn't it? It's worse the first time. Okay, so that resolution carries. 9.2 is the public meeting under the Planning Act from June 8th. And Councillor Chichok, you have those, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself, the minutes relating to the June 8th, 2026 public meetings be accepted.
Thank you, and someone to second those? Councillor Maychak, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about those meetings, minutes? Seeing none, again, we're ready. And that also carries. There are no communications this evening, and that does take us to the mayor's remarks. And so I will proceed with those. May and June seem to be the time for the winding down of activities for the year and their related celebrations, and also the time for late spring, looking forward to summer events as well. And as such, it's been quite busy since our last council meeting on May 19th. John and I, along with Director Summers, was pleased to attend the West Lincoln Firefighters Awards Banquet on Friday, May 22nd at the Smithville Legion. Earlier that same day, I was pleased to attend the ribbon cutting for the new NPEI transformer that will eventually provide reliable service well into the future of our municipality. Also in attendance were Councillors Trombetta, Riley, and Rayner. The following day, May 23rd, was the rain date chosen for the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee to clean up the park area around the community center after our April date had been rained out. And of course, it poured once again that day. It was, however, warmer than the originally chosen rainy day in April, so we did get the job done in spite of getting very wet. Thanks to Jackie and John for their help, and also to Ken Brunaccioni for coming into the community center to make lunch for us. The morning of May 27th, I attended the Niagara Nutrition Partners fundraising breakfast at Amici's Banquet Center. Niagara Nutrition Partners provides healthy snacks to each of our local schools that choose to be part of this program. It was a great event with well over 300 people in attendance. The next morning, May 28th, I attended another breakfast meeting, this time with the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce at Lackey's, where their future direction plans were discussed. Friday, May 29th, John and I hosted our staff for a barbecue in our backyard, inviting all staff and members of council who were available that day to stop by, have lunch, and wish Jackie Thrower best wishes as she transitions this summer from full-time to part-time employment after 27 years of service to West Lincoln. On the 1st of June, the pride flag was raised, and some staff from the clerk's department in the library joined the CAO and I later that week at the Unity Awards on June 3rd. On Friday, June 5th, John and I and our Ward 2 councillors, Chichok and Braderick, as we had all accepted an earlier invitation from Silverdale Hall Board to volunteer at their barbecue and penny sale, found ourselves with assigned jobs. It was a beautiful evening and was very well attended by the community. Monday, June 8th, the age-friendly Niagara flag was raised in honor of June, also being Seniors Month. Friday, June 12th, the West Lincoln Age-Friendly Advisory Committee hosted an event in the upstairs program room at the community center. The first speaker was Dr. George Ioannidis from McMaster University, who spoke about the importance of gait or walking speed for healthy seniors. The second speaker was Lorraine Hulley, Executive Director of Rose Cottage Visiting Volunteers, an agency made up of volunteers who provide free services to each of the West Niagara communities. She spoke about the various services that Rose Cottage provides and provided information about speaking to your doctor. Later that afternoon, we supported the fundraiser in our Greek community by picking up our souvlaki dinners and some baklava at our local Greek hall. And then later that evening, we went out to the Caister Fun Fair to support both our local school and the Station 2 firefighters who operate their food booth each year at this event. Both of these proved to be terrific community events. As any of you know, by the traffic jams in Smithville on June 13th, it was the day of our town-wide garage sale. In its third year, it is amazing to me how it was originated and organized by a group of residents on Facebook, and that each year it has gotten larger and larger. That same day, our library hosted a great Touch a Truck event in the community center parking lot, which was well attended by all. farm machinery, township vehicles, including the Zamboni, police and fire and private vehicles of all types added to the excitement for kids of all ages. At the hustle and bustle around town, and all of the hustle and bustle around town enabled the members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee to hold their first ever Mountain View Homes lemonade stand to support youth in the care of Family and Children's Services Niagara, to be able to go to summer camp for a week. Thanks to Councillors Maychak and Riley and Regional Councillor Witteveen for stopping by to support the MIAC Kids' goal of helping other kids. Thursday, June 18th, was the OFA-sponsored Regional Agriculture Bus Tour Day. Regional Councillor Witteveen, Councillor Chichok, and I spent the day making stops at Levi and Taryn Musker's Dairy Farm, John and Crystal Sickens' Beef, Pig Finishing, and Green Energy Wind Farm, and Daryl Hanstra's 20 View operation, all in West Lincoln. We finished our tour at Chris Hamilton's apiary in Wainfleet. Staff from the region's economic development team were on this tour with us, and I believe that it was great for them to learn just how many millions of dollars agriculture and their related support businesses add to both the regional and the provincial GDP each year. And finally, I spent the day Saturday, June 20th, at the Equal Voice Niagara Chapter Campaign School. I participated as a board member and also as part of a panel to provide support and information to women who were contemplating running in this next election or had perhaps already submitted their paperwork, and even some who just wanted to learn about how to support a candidate in an election. It was wonderful to be part of this group who all gathered for the day in St. Catharines to share their experiences, provide suggestions, and additionally encourage others. And that's the end of that. Are there any questions or comments on my report? Thank you. Okay. So that takes us to report of committees, and 12.1 is the Growth and Sustainability Committee, and Councillor Chichok, you have that resolution.
I do, Madam Mayor, thank you. Moved by myself that the minutes relating to the June 8th, 2026 Growth and Sustainability Committee meeting be accepted.
Thank you. And someone to second those, please. Councillor Riley again. Any questions or comments about those minutes? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk. The vote should be in front of you. And that resolution carries. 12.2 is the Infrastructure Committee, the minutes from June 8th, and Councillor Riley, you have those minutes.
I do, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes relating to the June 8th, 2026 Infrastructure Committee meeting be accepted.
Thank you. And someone to second those, please. Councillor Trombetta, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about those minutes? And seeing none, Mr. Clerk, we're ready for the vote. And that also carries, which takes us to 12.3, the Corporate Services Committee minutes, with confidential minutes under a separate cover. And Councillor Bradrick, you have those, please.
Moved by myself, one, that the minutes relating to June 15, 2026 Corporate Services Committee meeting be accepted, and two, that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion on June 15, 2026 Corporate Services Committee meeting be accepted, and the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with exemptions provided in Section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you, Councillor. Someone to second those minutes, please. Councillor Chichok. Are there any questions or comments about the open session portion of those minutes? Okay, and seeing none, again, Mr. Clerk, please. And that also carries. 12.4, we find the Community and Protective Services Committee minutes from June 15th. And Councillor Trombetta, you have those.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes relating to the June 15th, 2026 Community and Protective Services meeting be accepted.
Thank you. And someone to second those, please. Councillor Maychak. Are there any questions or comments about those minutes? And seeing none, again, Mr. Clerk, we're ready for you. And that also carries. So we have nothing this evening to reconsider, and there are no notices of motion to rescind, which takes us to other business. So I'm going to start with members of council, and let's start. Councillor Rayner, anything this evening?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I attended the Caister Central School Fun Fest a few weeks ago. It was always a lot of fun. Our youngest daughter went to Caister Central. The other three went to College Street when we had a farm on Young Street. So I'm familiar with the Caister Central. It's always a big activity. The cars are half a kilometer on both sides of the road. Huge attendance, and it's an opportunity to meet the residents and also to have a chat with the firefighters who do a great job and they make the best hamburgers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chichok, anything this evening?
No, Madam Mayor, it's been a rather hectic time. I feel sorry for all the farmers between the rain and the more rain, and even more rain. It has been very busy, and so I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just mention, I wasn't able to attend the Caister Fun Fair, nor was I able to attend the Smithville Fun Fair, but family of mine was able to volunteer and help out there. I know my son was part of that, and from what I understand, the weather was relatively decent. They managed to get through. I think the rain came right after on the Wednesday there. And then I guess for the most part, just I know we got our Canada Day celebration coming up, and we got our Citizens Recognition Awards tomorrow. And then for everyone else, we're going to go to reduce meetings as the summer months approach. So just wishing everyone a safe and happy summer. And we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from you, site? No. Nothing this evening, sir? Councillor Trombetta?
No, nothing.
Not?
Nothing.
Okay. Councillor Bradwick, nothing? Councillor Maychak, anything this evening?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to echo Councillor William Riley's comments. Tomorrow night, the Recognition Awards. Last year was the first opportunity I had to go, and I was just impressed by the quality of the candidates that were receiving awards that night, and I encourage the public to come out and support some incredible volunteers who have done some wonderful work over the last year, and I know they appreciate it, and we appreciate what they do for us.
Okay, thank you. And so to that, I will just add also that we have coming up at the end of this week, a blood donor clinic. Yes, so
I'm at National.
you're not there for blood donor clinic this time,
No,
Councillor?
unfortunately this year, I was there last time and I donated, but unfortunately I'll be out of town on the Friday. My daughter's in National competition
So
for
again,
dance.
we do have that coming up. And once again, I think I appreciate the fact that you pointed out that we do change our meeting schedule. And so this committee will not meet again till mid-July. And it will be a mixed meeting where it's all committees and council as well. So rolled into one, and the same thing will happen in August. So good that you pointed that out. Okay, well then, that will take us then. We have no confidential and no new business as far as I'm aware, unless somebody has something that they want to bring up. Which takes us to bylaws, and Councillor Riley, again, you have those, please.
I do. Moved by myself that leave be granted to introduce bylaw 2026-30 and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you. And someone to second the bylaws, please. Councillor Maychak again, thank you. Okay, so I will call for the vote on the bylaw because it's a very general bylaw. And that also carries, and so it is my honor and duty to declare this meeting over at the hour of 7:14. Thanks.